This is Jeff with Slavens Racing. This video is about how to install the Slavens Extreme link skid. We invented the link skid a year ago, August of 2011, because on my very first ride on my KTM 350 I damaged the shock clevis because they hang down low, and it hung up on a boulder and tore a chunk out of it. So this is a Slavens original product, and this video is about how to install it. So first thing you need to do is get your tools in order, and your materials and the kit. So in the kit comes these two side plates, and then the bottom plate that wraps around, and there's two little side plates, 4 thread cutting screws that hold those on. There's a long bolt nut and washer there with a spacer to hold the two side plates together. And then there's 2 bolts and nuts here that hold this bottom piece in. From there you'll need get your selection of tools ready. The early link skids had 11mm bolts in them, and the later ones have 10mm wrench size. So you should have both on hand. So this is a nut driver, 10 and 11mm socket and an 8mm socket, 10 and 11mm wrench, pair of needle nose pliers, small ratchet with a number 45 Torx bit on it, a torque wrench, propane torch, 13mm wrench, and then a ratchet with an extension with a 17 and a 19mm socket. You should also have some contact cleaner or carburetor cleaner on hand. That's what's in this black container, and some WD-40. All those items should get the job done rather quickly if you're organized. So the very first thing I recommend you do is to heat the nut that holds the front bolt on. This is on 2012 models. 2011 this wasn't necessary. We have a nut on this side. It came out much easier. But in 2012 they put this cone-shaped nut in there. This piece. That's actually a nut. And on one side, on the inside here, it's flat-sided. And then there's a cutout in the frame, in this frame tab. There's a cutout up here that matches the flat side of the nut, and that's what locks it into position so that you can unscrew it. But from the factory they put an extremely strong Loctite on there, and if you try to loosen it with a big impact gun or a large breaker bar, you will damage the frame and you'll have a real mess. So I highly recommend that you do it this method, and that is to heat this nut first. So you can heat that nut with a propane torch. You can buy these torches at many hardware stores. Very easy to operate. Just turn the knob on. Click. Well, maybe. Well, mine's out of juice today. But anyhow, you would aim it at that nut right there. I've already pulled the carburetor vent tubes up out of the way, and this bike has a carbon fiber skid plate which could catch on fire, so if you have one of those you might want to remove it. You don't have to, but be very careful not to melt this chain block here or to catch your bike on fire. You have to heat that nut to release the Loctite. It softens and releases it so that you can unscrew the bolt. That's the very first thing you should do in this process, because you're going to need to let that cool down, and that can be cooling while you're doing some of the other steps.